Cooking with the Badger. Cooking with the Badger. Anyway, so what we're doing is I'm making some more pasta, but I'm adding some garlic and things like that. A lot of what I'm going to talk about today has to deal with the RV lifestyle, living in the RV. Okay, and what I mean by that is there is some thoughts that people have about I just need a place to sleep and lay my head. So what is going on lately is people are thinking about buying a truck and putting a truck camper on top of it and suspiciously sleeping on the streets of California, Nevada, Arizona, all these places. And you could tell when the people walk into the dealership lot and they're looking for a truck camper to put on a bed of a truck, you could tell they're not looking for something that you have on the lot. They're looking for confirmation that they can live in a truck camper under the radar without getting arrested, without getting in trouble, things of that nature. So one thing I would say about that is we live in an era right now where homelessness is going to spike. Homelessness is going to spike upward. It's trending upward, especially in states like Nevada, California, New York, Texas, Arkansas, Florida. And it doesn't matter. Hello, Seeking Truth. It doesn't matter what the political climate of that state is. Homelessness outside of a handful of states is spiking and spiking quick. And there's becoming more empty apartments, empty condos. Evictions are through the roof. Repossessions are through the roof of cars. Now, most people don't understand, this isn't really going to affect the RV industry as much as you would think, because the people that actually truly are RVers and actually purchase and have the disposable income to go enjoy the RV lifestyle, they're not really affected by the economy like some of the folks coming on the dealership lot right now looking for somewhere to lay their head. Okay? So if you're about to be homeless and you're looking for confirmation about whether living in a truck camper is legal because it's attached to a truck, that's not for me to decide. Okay? I live in a fifth wheel toy hauler. I love the lifestyle of it. I probably will never own another house, and I'll probably never ever be in an apartment or condo because I'm never going to get married again. I'm never going to have another girlfriend. I'm never going to date, nothing of nature. I'm enjoying what I do. And I'm doing the best I can to take care of my daughters. So I've fallen in love with this lifestyle and the full-time RV living because it's so simple. I have a smaller space to take care of. I have a nice, comfortable bed, a good shower. I have a refrigerator. I have an area to cook my dinners. A washer or dryer is only a 5-mile drive from me. My gym is only 7-mile drive from me. And I have everything around me that I could possibly need while I build my media catalog on RVing and RVs and my AI stuff and things of that nature. So I live in a fifth wheel toy hauler as a choice because of a lifestyle that I've decided to have, instead of renting a room or getting a studio apartment. That's just the way I want to live life. But to go and tell somebody it's okay to live in a truck camper in a neighborhood, hi Steve Nitzel, is not within my capacity. I can't tell you what you can and can't do. And I would say that a truck camper or a motor home is probably safer than sleeping on the streets or sleeping in a shelter. I get it. I really do. I understand. I drive by Stockton, California, and a lot of these other bigger cities in Northern California. The homeless population seems to be just increasing. And then a buddy of mine lives in Dallas and Houston, respectively, two of my buddies. And they said the homeless problem is skyrocketing in Texas, skyrocketing in Oklahoma, skyrocketing in Florida, skyrocketing in New York. And, people are looking for alternative living. Now, the problem is there are faceless AI RV channels. One of them is titled RV Crisis. It's an AI channel that is faceless, that takes 10% of the truth and throws in 90% lies to make money. It's hard to know who's telling the truth and who's not. This was a problem I foresaw 3 years ago. Okay? And how I foresaw it and why I foresaw it are two different things. So how I foresaw it was when Grand Design, I was starting to get reports about frame failure and frame flex from Grand Design fifth wheel owners. Okay? And when I started getting these reports and I started talking about to people inside the whole thing, they were like trying to shut me up, trying to silence me. In fact, it cost me employment and almost cost me my podcast to talk about frame failure. But when Josh the RV Nerd was instructed to come on a video and basically tell people I'm full of shit and that it's less than 0.5% of frames that fail, now, once that occurred, I'm like, well, if a corporation can make an influencer of any kind in any industry come up with fake statistics that were basically pulled out of somebody's ass, it's only going to get worse as AI becomes more prevalent in today's society. And now we have the opposite of a corporate RV dealership YouTuber. We now have the sky's falling, everything's bullshit, everything's built like cardboard, everything's built like tissue paper. You're getting all that from faceless people that use AI to generate fake information and are making tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a month feeding you bad fake information. And you never know who the person is or where they came from. Oop, pasta's ready. So that's really where I saw this problem coming from. And then I saw this problem, and I love JD from Big Truck Big RV. But I saw this problem occurring when JD, who is sponsored by eTrailer.com, who sells a bunch of Lippert parts, has him go up and basically do a really bad interview about frames with Lippert. It was just the start of a snowball effect that has created this alternative content. So we have that big pendulum swing again with no reality in the middle, and the reality in the middle doesn't activate the algorithm. When the crappy RV comes on and screams and yells about how shitty everything is, skyrockets views. When Liz Amazing tells Armageddon stories and that's all she tells, it activates the algorithm and skyrockets views. When I give you, or when the RV Hunter, or even some of the other middle of the road RV YouTubers that are just out there to give you information or giving you basic, simple information without making everything so dramatic, the algorithm hates us. But when you have the guy on the other side that says, oh my God, it's so innovative. They've built this same travel trailer for like 35 years, but it's so innovative and it's so new and I've never seen it before, even though it comes to my lot every year. I mean, that activates the algorithm. Oh my God, I've never seen anything like it. it activates the algorithm. So you have, and I'm not meaning this in a nasty way, but you have two sides of a con. You have the corporate RV dealership YouTubers that are trying to basically con you into thinking there's nothing wrong. You know, you got Brinkley RV and a guy named Nate Goldenberg who's trying to convince the world that his trailers and fifth wheels don't leak, that his seal doesn't suck. Doesn't focus in on the things that are really good about Brinkley, focuses in on that because everything has to be perfect, otherwise nobody's going to buy a Brinkley. Well, that's untrue because Brinkley does a really good job in other areas besides their leaky seal. Okay, they do a great job in other areas. So why are you trying to con people and trying to silence people? That's one side. And it's not, I'm just using Nate as an example. There's others in the industry at different levels of the industry that do the same thing. They have a con game. And then on the other side, you got people trying to take advantage of it and saying, oh my God, they're a bunch of liars. Let me prove that they're liars. And then I'll over-exaggerate the lies to make it seem like the RV industry is built on cardboard and tissue paper, and I'll make hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. Because everybody likes bad news. Now, I don't personally have a problem with people making money. What I have a problem with is the content. Okay? And the biggest problem that I have is everybody's trying to con each other. And then I get comments that are the dumbest, excuse my language, but I get some of the dumbest fucking comments from people on God's green earth. On TikTok today, a company, which was Lazy Days RV, is now Funtown RV. Funtown RV was trying to sell this guy a Winnebago motorhome. They just opened up in Vegas. They just got that Vegas store running. And the guy goes, well, they told me it was 75 grand, but when I looked at the paperwork, they were charging me $125,000 more. They said it's because of financing, but that's just a con and a scam. So a mortgage is a scam? A car loan is a scam? Are you shitting me? Go get an education. Go educate yourself on how a loan works. When you borrow money, and you borrow money over 20 or 30 years on a mortgage, on a car, on a boat, on an RV, on a power sport, when you borrow money, the bank makes money on interest every time you make a payment. So if you're really going to keep the motorhome, the Winnebago motorhome, for 20 years, you're going to pay 20 years of interest. If you're going to keep your house for 30 years and not pay it off sooner, you're going to pay 30 years of interest. So it's not a scam, but because Liz Amazing did a video that actually was a good video, by the way. I think it was one of Liz's best videos she's ever done. When Liz did a video last year that still gets cycled through the algorithm talking about balloon payments and the scam of balloon payments in the state of Utah, which was a fabulous video. I think it's her best yet. This guy, who is uneducated and decides he can't afford a motorhome, so he's going to bullshit everybody to thinking that it's just because the RV industry is a scam, I'm not buying an RV. No, you can't afford the freaking payment. You can't afford the down. You shouldn't buy a motorhome anyway. Okay, so the reality is that social media, okay, has degraded our level of thinking. Social media has made guys who have $200,000 cars call an itty-bitty influencer a blowhard. You wouldn't have seen that 15, 20 years ago. Period. Do you know why I don't get interviewed or interviews with other GMs and presidents and stuff like that of companies? Because they know I'm not going to give them softball questions. I'm not going to fall for their marketing bullshit. We're going to ask the hard questions and have a real conversation. There was only one person in the entire RV industry that wanted to come on here and answer the hard questions and be 100% organic. And that was Jason Lippert. That's it. Only guy in the entire RV industry that wanted to come on my podcast a couple years ago and like have a real conversation about things. Not just frames, but solar, components, water pumps. Him and I were going to sit down and try to have a lengthy conversation. I chose not to. That's between him and I why I did that. That was something personal that I dealt with. Nothing he did wrong on a personal level, on a business level. It was something that we'll say was we'll call it mutual, but it was more on my side, like I wasn't going to do it. But that's the only man or only woman, only person on either side. Somebody said, well, why don't you interview Liz Amazing? She'll never come on my podcast because she knows that I would make a fool out of everything she does for her content, which will actually cost her money. I'll never have any of the corporate RV dealership YouTuber guys on because they know damn well I'm going to do the same thing. I'm not a good sales guy. I'm horrible with people skills. The only reason why I've been successful in this industry is I give people the cold hard facts. And they get shocked like, where did you come from? You know, it's the only reason why I've been successful is I just punch people in the mouth metaphorically with what reality is. When somebody walks in and asks me, what's the best truck camper built in the RV industry today? Well, how many slide outs do you want? Huh? Well, there's so many segments of how truck campers are assembled. Do you want to slide? Do you not want to slide? Do you want 2 slides, 3 slides? Do you want something for half-ton truck? Do you want something for a Toyota Tacoma? What do you want? And they're like, wow. And I said, because it's complicated. If you ask me, which is the best company that builds a truck camper with a slide out for a 1-ton truck? Arctic Fox, hands down. Who's the best at making them with 3 slides? Host. Who's the best at makes them for Toyota Tacoma or Nissan Frontier? Scout by Adventure. Who's the best one that makes one with a bathroom? None. Because if they have a bathroom, they're not going on Tacoma or a Frontier. So I don't have talent. I don't. I've been told I have a radio voice. That's about the biggest talent I've got. So the only way we're going to figure this out is with the cold hard truth and the cold hard facts. And that's a problem because you have all those guys like, oh my God, let me put on my sunglasses. Let me look ultra cool with my wife and my $300,000 truck that was paid for by an independent manufacturer so that way I don't talk crap about them. I got a bribe, and I got a bribe because they know I have a nice following. And I'm just going to tell everybody that these individual products that are a fifth wheel that look really good, that they're perfect. And that honey badger guy, he's full of crap. And I go into his comment section, and I tell everybody how mean he is and how bad he is. I mean, that's what I get. My grandfather used to. My grandfather made the best Philly cheesesteak on God's green earth. Love that man. Too bad he's no longer around. Passed away. But my point of the matter is we need to get to a point in our lives where social media needs to be. We need to understand what's fake and what's not. What reality is and what reality isn't. It's why I'm actually a fan of Matt's RV reviews. I always have been. Love Matt. I think Matt's gotten a little big for his britches right now. Not literally, metaphorically, because I think he's spread way too thin anymore. And that's what happens when you become a big dog like him, right? But yet, I still get the same sense today I got about Matt 5 years ago. I can't say the same about other RV YouTubers because money gets to people. Brand deals get to people. And you know what? That's one reason why I don't have brand deals, because brands know I'm not going to bullshit people. And they don't dare bring a one company had the balls to have me sponsored by their company. They did it for 1 year. That was Nomad Internet, knowing I would talk about the scam that they pulled with the data problem. No, I get it. Hey, so Oma, let me put it this way. I like Matt for what he does. I may not agree with a corporation type thing, but I like the way Matt has done things over the years. Okay? I don't like, he just, to me, between him and the RV Hunter, those are my two favorite guys that are in the RV space. They're my two favorite guys. To me, I could go have beers with those guys and have real conversations. Even though they would never come on my podcast, because I think it would hurt their image a little bit. I really think that they're the best RV YouTubers we have when it comes to those big corporate guys. They really are. They do a great job. I think Matt still has the intensity of, I'm going to tell people what I like and what I don't like about things. And see, that to me is better than, oh my God, I'd never seen it before. Oh my God, they did it again. Oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, it's just, you get sick of hearing that shit. Yep, people are fans of it. They love, oh my God, my Jayco's so perfect. I know I've had like 30 warranty issues in the entire year, like a lot of people do. And that's normal, and Jayco's a good product. But oh my God, it's so perfect. Nothing ever goes wrong. And then you find out that person's sponsored by somebody, has some YouTube channel. And you know what? I got to give some of these full-time RVers a lot of credit this year. In the last 4 months, 9 full-time RV YouTubers have retired from full-time RVing. They found out how really hard it is and how it's not easy. And then finally, 2 of the big van influencers, the van life influencers, finally got caught in their hotel rooms that they've been staying in for a week. Oh, the power of editing and CGI. I mean, there's just too much money. There really is. And I'm guilty of it in some respects. Let me tell you where I'm guilty of it in. I'm guilty of it because I've hopped on the AI train. I hopped on the AI train. Yeah, Josh has, but I still like Josh's older stuff before Bishes got involved. I really do. He is my, even though I do agree with you, one thing I would say about Josh is, without Josh the RV nerd, you wouldn't have the Honey Badger. And I say that in a very positive way. Because actually, prior to Bishes buying Josh's family's dealership in Michigan, I think it was, off the top of my head, Josh was the inspiration behind me starting a channel. Because I liked what Josh was doing. I loved the way Josh did things. And he was missing certain little segments of information. And not on purpose, but just like, there's only so many hours in a day to do things and so much time to do things. And one thing I would say is, I decided, okay, I'm going to talk about those segments. I'm going to talk about those things. And I loved it. Sorry. It's a little getting blurry over there. Oh, yeah. Well, a lot of that's they owe a lot more money than they can. I mean, it's crazy. I got a consignment today. Lady's been trying to sell it for like 4 months. Just can't. And a lot of it is that a lot of people think that, oh, I'll just find a bunch of cash buyers. There's no such thing as a cash buyer anymore. It's very rare. Cash buyers buy new a lot of times right now. We're in that influx. I'm going to talk about that on the podcast tomorrow. So on the podcast episode tomorrow, I'm going to talk a lot about how new buyers on new are paying cash and used or financing. Very interesting. That's a weird kind of segment of the flow right now. Usually it's the opposite. Usually cash buyers buy used and people finance the new. So I've been noticing a lot of people that are paying cash, they're stepping up and buying new or newer. Very interesting. So, that's part of it, Lambo and Doc. That is a part of it. You know, that is a part of it. They are way out of whack, Steve. I just sold a Nash travel trailer, used one, a little over 11 years old, good shape. I was $5,000 less than everybody nationwide. I mean, so many people. There are people contacting me from Florida for that coach, and I'm in California. Lambo and Doc. The problem is nobody understands what warranty work is. Okay, this is the problem that I have. Look, I have nothing personal against Liz Amazing. I don't. I actually respect her, and I respect the money she makes, and I respect the following she's done, and I don't want her to go away. We do need somebody like her to, how do I put this? Just kind of try to hold people accountable, okay? So I don't want her to go away. I don't want her channel to go away. I don't want her to stop. But I have to get people to understand that part of the problem is we don't tell the full story of how somebody came from driving a nice $200,000 coach off the lot to 8 months later, it's a wreck and nobody's doing anything about it. How did we get there? We don't talk about the chain of events. Hard to do in her defense, hard to do in a 30-minute video, 25-minute video. Very hard to do. You get people bitching in the comment section when you do an hour-long video. Just get to the point already. And it's like, dude, you need the context. There's no context. So I'll give you guys an example. Last year, and I did a podcast about this. I knew 7 of the clients that she had on her show, and I actually contacted the dealer and got the full story. One of them was 2 ladies living in a motorhome, and what people won't tell you is that this is an entry-level motorhome that isn't built to be lived in. That's built actually for weekend trips and things of that nature. That's number one. Number two, the way they tried to wire the coach for solar on their own is what actually started the cascade of events that destroyed their electrical system in their motorhome. And they wanted the factory to pay for all the repairs. They want a Rev Group to pay for all the repairs. Even though they're the ones who didn't want to pay a technician to actually install the solar, they had Joe Blow from Home Depot do it, and it fried their whole electrical system, and then they go get Liz Amazing and do a video on it. Right? That's funny, Peter. But the reality is if you want more quality control, if you want better results from the RV factories, go to the RV factory and go watch them be built. Go watch quality. Go sit at a factory for a week and go watch the process. Don't believe some dude that's a corporate dealership or some dickhead in a $200,000 car calling people blowhards. Don't believe those suckers. And don't believe Liz and Wingman Wisdom and all them. Don't take their words for it. Go actually sit and watch. It will shock you. I've been on the factory side of the industry. I used to bitch and complain as a service advisor about how crappy everything is as far as the process. But then you go spend a year working for the factory and it like opens your eyeballs to so much. Okay? I'll give you an example. A guy named Eddie works in Indiana, works for one of the Forest River divisions. At least he used to. I don't know if he still does. Him and I had a 45-minute conversation about a dealer that's in Albuquerque, New Mexico, that when he would call and say, hey, can you send me photos or videos of it not working? I don't remember what it was. And they send you a blurry close-up, like my finger this close with a bunch of blur pointing. This is why I say, okay, for sure, this is why I say that AI would solve a lot of problems in actually the RV service end of things. Yeah. There's a lot of drama. And Lambo, I just say just sit there for a week. You know, and I wouldn't sit in a Grand Design factory. That's the wrong factory to go to. I would say Brinkley is a good factory to visit and spend a weekend. Okay? Even though I talk a lot about the leaks and the imperfections, I do that because I want people to have an understanding they ain't perfect. They're nowhere near perfect. But they do a lot of good stuff. And that factory is a pretty well-oiled machine. Forest River Rockwood Flagstaff is another great factory to go walk through and be a part of for a week. Another machine that's been a machine for 30 plus years. Good quality, good build quality. You know, not the best, not perfect, but good to watch. You know, once Alliance RV figures their shit out, which they will, I know the Brady guys, they're going to figure shit out. Once they get all that figured out, worked out with the leaks in the showers and all that stuff, that's another good factory to visit and spend a week in. And then go to Coleman, Springdale, Salem, Wildwood, all the cheapy shit, and watch the difference. You'd be shocked. Rockwood's a good product. No, it's prone. I didn't write down every single model number because there's so many different models. It's not like it's tens of thousands. It's hundreds. Okay? I think we're just north of 200 people that have emailed me, DM'd me, or texted me and shown me video of their leaking Brinkley because of the experimental seal job they're doing on it. And as I said, if that's going to be innovation, that's innovation. You're first through the wall. You're bloodiest first through the wall if you're going to continue to do it. Okay? But it's not like it's tens of thousands. It's not like the frame flex frame failure problem with Grand Design. Okay? Not even close. But I just don't like people telling me something's perfect in the RV industry. I hate that. Because now I'm going to nitpick you. But let's remember, too, I put Brinkley fifth wheel toy haulers in my top 5 for 2026. Because Brinkley RV did a really good job with their fifth wheel toy hauler lineup. And whoever they got that's designing that, even if it is Nate Goldenberg himself, keep that dude on the payroll. Because they're doing a good job with that freaking design. They're doing a really good... I wish they were a little lighter weight, because it's going to be tough for a lot of people to tow them with F-250s and Chevy 2500s. But what a great job they've done. Masterclass of Indiana. They're not the masterclass of the toy hauler industry, because there are better toy hauler builders and better toy hauler manufacturers. But they are the actual standard of how Indiana should build their fifth wheel toy hauler. They should be the standard. XLR, Sandstorm, Shockwave, Forest River, Keystone, Jayco, they need to start paying attention, because that is, they're not the best, but they're top 5. And they do a really good job. They're middle of the road. Keystone toy haulers are in the middle of the road. They're not the best. They're not the worst. They're in the middle of the road. Indiana's hub for manufacturing because 2 reasons why. And God rest his soul, I loved Pete, because Pete Legal was fun to talk to, okay? Pete made it very simple. Why RVs were built in California, Oregon, and Indiana. Okay, because you got to remember, back in the heyday, Fleetwood built out of California, Thor built out of California. So there were three main hubs of where California RVs were built. And then you have Michigan that has a couple factories, Kentucky had a couple, and even if I remember right, Arkansas had one or two. And then you had Idaho, Iowa, different places like that. The main reason why? Because there's not a lot of work. So they figured the turnover would be less and you could keep a group together long term. So that way quality got better. And that was true. Or quality would be more consistent, I should say. Not better, more consistent. COVID wiped that out because now everybody kind of switches around to wherever the biggest money is. And now you got to retrain somebody. That was a pain. And number two, it was a central hub where a lot of the transportation companies were when they originally started building these factories in Middlebury, Elkhart, and all these places. It was a central hub where a lot of the transportation companies, so it saved them a bunch of money, and it was easier to transport out of there and get Canadian transporters to pick up their stuff and take it up into Canada. Main reasons why. Main two. Had nothing to do with the Indiana laws, like some knucklehead in North Carolina thinks. Has nothing to do with the fact that's cheaper labor. It had to do with cost of doing business outside of building the RV. Yeah, they do a good job. But that's why the Amish don't do as much as they used to, because, I mean, they still go to the factories. You don't get me wrong. They still go there, but it's not as prevalent as it was 10, 15 years ago, because not everything's made of real wood. This is a 06 Weekend Warrior that I live in. Okay, there's no wood in this coach as far as the cabinetry. You know, your old Montanas, your old older Grand Designs, your older Forest Rivers, your older Jaycos, they all had real wood cabinet faces that were designed and carved out by a lot of the Amish. And the Amish live everywhere. They don't just live in Indiana. There's Amish that live in Alabama. There's Amish that live in Michigan and Ohio. And the Amish aren't just centralized in Indiana. Okay? So let's just remember that. The Amish thing for most of the manufacturers didn't really start coming in until they started using as a sales pitch. They didn't start really using it as a sales pitch till, what, the late 80s, early 90s? It wasn't really something they're doing. Well, Sunnybrook is a whole different animal in Lambo. That was a whole different animal. So was God, there was so many good there were so many real interesting manufacturers, but Sunnybrook was a really good one. Carriage was a good one too. Carriage was 100%. 100% of the interiors of carriages were built by the Amish. 100%. They're expensive and heavy as shit, though. Hitchhiker, the same thing. They were heavy. They were big old pigs. They were heavier than most of your fifth wheel toy haulers. They're big dogs. They still fell apart. They still fell apart, though. Old Weekend Warriors were really well put together. They were real well built. Late 90s, early 2000s. They were really well built. They still fell apart. A roof, here's what I think about all roofs. Roofs leak unless you take care of them. Keystone's not bad. Keystone makes Coleman. I'm not a fan of Coleman or Aspen Trail or any of that stuff. I'm a fan of Keystone Cougar. I'm a fan of Keystone Montana. I'm a fan of the Keystone Passport, which is the same thing as a oh God, what was it called? Bullet. Okay. And their toy haulers are okay. But I liked a lot of their, I own a Cougar fifth wheel. The kids live in it up in Oregon. Everything with Flex Armor, I think Flex Armor, time will tell. Anything that has a new roof material, like Alpha Ply, lifetime warranty, Alpha Ply, really? So you don't ever have to seal a roof? Right. Okay, that's good. I don't have an opinion on it yet because I don't. It's like the new kid on the block. Let me see what happens if people go through a snow and rain season and have leaks without, fixing it, without having to seal it. Like all of a sudden we start creating lifetime warranties on these stupid roofs and people think they don't have to take care of them. It's crazy. Like Alpha Ply. Oh yeah, it's UV resistant. You never have to it's zero maintenance. Really? Okay. We'll see how zero maintenance Alpha Ply works out in about 2-3 years when people don't take care of them and they're baking in the sun. We'll see what happens. Let's see what happens when Alpha Ply isn't washed off and has a bunch of dirt caked onto it from 120-degree weather. We'll see. Perfect. All right, Pete, where are you going? Where are you going for snowbirding this year? Florida, Tennessee, where? Uh-oh. Florida, Pensacola. Mamma mia. Good for you. Steve, the problem is, I love covers on RVs for storage. I love them. I think it's a good idea. But don't get a big expensive one. Get one that's easy to put on because they're a pain in the ass sometimes. Steve, I agree and disagree with you. The problem is there's too many full-time RVers that are paid by brands and manufacturers. Brinkley, Grand Design, Keystone, Jayco, I think one of the Forest River divisions, I'm not quite sure, all pay influencers that are full-time RVers. Okay? So to get real full-time RVers that aren't paid influencers to go on a podcast is a real pain in the ass. I've tried. I've actually gone to parks where people full-time live and have lived for 5-6 years and they don't want to come on camera. They don't even want to have their voice heard on the internet. So, unless there's money involved, people don't want to talk. Tried that. There's too many paid influencers that live in coaches. I think it's Coachman Beyond. I think that's the Forest River division that pays one or two influencers that live in the van life, if I remember right. Yeah, it is, but the problem is nobody wants to educate people. Everybody wants to sell shit. That's the problem. Well, I'm sick of it. I get tired of it. I get sick and tired of the bullshit. I really do. I've been tired of it for like 4 years. I really have. That's why, one day I hope I get to a point where the YouTube algorithm actually takes my stuff and pushes it in front of people and they get the real education. I'll give you an example. How about this? The video in which I talked about Alliance getting an offer from Winnebago and Brinkley having a deal in place with Thor was the most watched video of 2025. Most watched. Not the RV finance video I did, teaching about loans. Not the education video I did about full-time RVing in the winter. Not debunking Josh the RV Nerd's space heater theory. None of that stuff hit the algorithm. But the minute I mention Brinkley selling to Thor, everybody loses their minds. Of course, they're not going to sell anymore. Thor backed out of the deal. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Netflix backs out of the Warner Brothers purchase by the end of next year. There's a lot of things that go into shit like that that's crazy. Okay? But, you know, when I'm talking about removing the floor out of my Weekend Warrior and how to remodel it, it gets 381 views in 6 months. With 18,000 subscribers, by the way. But when I do a video about the collapse of a roof on a Keystone Cougar and a frame, it gets, 74,000 views in 2 weeks. So everybody's okay watching the chaos and disruption, but doesn't want the education. And, you know, there's a big to-go that all the big influencers are doing right now. Don't run a space heater during the winter in your coach because you could cause a fire. Okay, well, let's talk about that for a minute. So I have 2 space heaters in here, and I've never had even close to a fire. My kids and their mother live in a Keystone Cougar up in the middle of BFE, Oregon, in 0-degree temperature in the winter, and they run 3 space heaters during the winter, and not even close to an electrical fire. What the context of what they're talking about is based on an insurance company that has basically, there were 3 insurance companies about 7 months ago that turned down claims on RVs that caught on fire because they found a space heater plugged in. Okay. Now, would I run a space heater at full blast, on high, all 3 of them at the same time in a coach? Hell no. Would I run 2 on low and maybe turn the second one off when I'm outside the living room and going into the bedroom and turn up the bedroom one a little bit? Yeah. Absolutely. No problem. But if, you know, it's managing your electrical and not overloading your system. But it's been a trend. Let's be a trendy and everybody talk about this bullshit that doesn't matter. Let's all talk about how remember when everybody was saying motorhomes couldn't be sold in California anymore? Watch my fucking video from 2022 because I'm the one that actually did the research. So for those corporate RV dealership YouTubers and those full-time RV YouTubers that all of a sudden decided to jump on a bandwagon that was complete narcissistic bullshit, all they had to do was watch a video I did from a couch that was 5 minutes long that explained the entire law in length. I mean, it's like, Christ, no wonder nobody trusts the internet anymore. No wonder nobody fucking trusts influencers anymore. No wonder. Because it's like half of what they say, they're talking out of their ass. It's crazy. It's nuts. I get sick of the narcissism. I really do. I'm as narcissistic as they come. I'm as self-indulgent as they come. But I ain't near what these guys are. And gals. Nowhere near it. Craziness. I think it's time for take a shower. Alright guys. I'm fishy. I'm going to take a shower. Propane. Alright guys, have a good night. Talk at you later.